grow to be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of health. That's right. Obviously, we do tips every week on your financial health, but we also help you teach how to grow in your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your intellectual health, and like today's episode, your social health. Today, we're focusing on how to improve your social health with boundaries. Could be a good one for a lot of us here, I feel like. If you have never seen Millionaires Are Made, this is the show built on the fundamental beliefs that every person you meet knows something you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone in this big, beautiful world. Here at Millionaires Are Made, we are on a mission to teach the world how to grow into the healthiest, happiest millionaires in all 6 aspects of life. Woohoo! So today we went and got 3 awesome guests to give you 3 awesome tips on how to improve your social health with boundaries, and in the spirit of authenticity, to try to remove as much bias as possible. We do not talk about tips or advice before the show starts. So when our guests tell you their tip, it's going to be our first time hearing it as well. Audience, viewers, if you're watching this, thank you so much. We love you. This is an interactive show. Please feel free to comment and ask questions. We actually ask them live on air, and you can get your answers right away. Real quick for our followers, we're going to do our follower shout out. Facebook, Meredith Vocal, thank you so much for following. Instagram, Christina. TikTok, Missy Val, and YouTube, Christina Smith. If you want to be shouted out, all you got to do is follow. Easy as that. If you want to be a guest on our show, or if you have a topic that you want us to go over, we're dropping the link for both of those right now. We know you can be a guest. Everyone we know and fully believe has something to share. We'd love to hear what you've got. You can name your topic and we'll put you on that show. If you have any topic ideas you want to see, maybe there's a struggle in your life, maybe socially, your friendships or relationships are a little rocky, maybe spiritually you're feeling a little lost, whatever it is, shoot us a topic idea. We will go and find 3 awesome guests to give 3 awesome tips to help you get through that point in life. It's 2025, so by default, we have to ask and remind you, if you like what we do, please like, share, subscribe, send stars, whatever it is, wherever you're watching, help support us. We love that. Thank you so much. On that note, if you do like what we do, I also love to talk one-on-one with everyone. I do offer free growth sessions. That link's being dropped right now. You can click, sign up, and come chat one-on-one with whatever the hell you're going with. If I can't help you and work through it, I guarantee I know somebody that can. And before we get this show started, we're dropping another awesome link. We finally have merchandise, hats, shirts, calendars, mugs, all that fun stuff. If you want to help support Millionaires Are Made and get our message out, we would love to have you share that as well and grab some merch. Whoo! This episode is brought to you by Sarah Jones, who was buried in debt with a failing marriage. Now she went and erased everything she was taught, got her license to be a financial coach, and guides couples, individuals, and small businesses to build fun, healthy money habits. Is now in the happiest marriage you can find, and travels the U.S. in a big RV and wants to teach you how to do the same. Our next sponsor is Biz by Right. It's a matchmaking service for people who love buying and selling businesses. They find cash flowing deals, vet them with AI, and connect buyers and sellers faster than you can say due diligence. Go check them out if you like to buy or sell. Brian Pirano is a husband, a father of 4, and founder of The Call to Rise, helping busy men reclaim their health, energy, and confidence through simple, sustainable systems that fit real life. If you're feeling a little stressed or a little overwhelmed, go check out Brian. Our final sponsor before we bring out our guests is Luke Harlan, a transformational mindset change agent, a health coach, and a dynamic speaker, helping people break free from myths, misconceptions, and limiting beliefs so they can unlock their best selves and thrive in every area of life. Woo! And that now brings us to our first guest. One of our favorites, been here before, is Lady J. Lady J, tell us, who are you?
I am a wife, a mom, a caregiver to my 91-year-old mother. I love to sing, cook, and travel. I'm also the author of the unexpected stranger. And I'm also currently writing my second book that's going to be launched sometime this year. Alongside that, I'm launching a beginner's writer series called Write It, Finish It, and Publish It. It's for the newbies that have no idea how to write a book. It's a cool ebook that they can just go through. I also give them as a bonus a 7-part video YouTube series to help them get on their way.
When you have that complete, you definitely need to let us know because we have virtually everyone that's been on the show has at some point in their book writing process, myself included. I probably got like 15 half-written books. Awesome, Lady J. All right, well let's focus this in a little more. If
Okay.
I wanted to improve my social health with boundaries, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
The healthiest one that I can think of is learning to say no without guilt.
Learning to
So,
say no. Tell me more.
most of us grow up copying what our parents did, what we see people do. We see them work tirelessly, they're serving, they're giving, they got this thing of giving to others and keeping themselves empty, right? And so when I look at it biblically, we didn't know Jesus had boundaries. We should also have boundaries ourselves. Remember when he pulled
What
away
boundaries
from
did
the
Jesus
crowd?
have?
He pulled away from crowds. Remember how he disappeared, moved away from crowds to have that peace? When he wanted to rest and pray with God, he moved away. So he also had boundaries because what? We still have to feed our mind, our spirit, right? So when we look at that, hey, boundaries are not walls, they're doors. They're doors that let love
Ooh.
in. They can help protect you for what drains you. To help people does not mean help everybody. Remember, Jesus also was limited to the access of people. You can't be access to everybody. That is a boundary. Boundaries don't mean you're selfish. We That's another thing that we think of. We have to give, give, give. It just means you're wise enough to protect your peace, your purpose, and your relationship with God. We are important.
Man, well said, Lee. I had like 7 questions pop up during that. Um, wow, we're gonna have to talk some more. This will be
Yes.
great for the round robin. Where on your life journey did you learn this tip?
Well, from experience, self help books, my relationship with God, a lot of times we think we're not enough. But when you learn about God, you find out how much He loves you. And how can you love someone else and you don't love yourself? How can you help somebody else and you not helping yourself? You know how you are on an airplane. They
I knew
always
you
tell
were
you to
bringing
put
that
your
up.
mask on first because it's the simplest thing. You know, if you put your mask on first, you can help somebody else. If you're not taking care of yourself, giving yourself love, knowing when to say no without guilt, then you're in trouble.
Fascinating, Lady J. We're gonna have so much to talk about. We're gonna move on to our next guest, and then we'll bring it back out for the round robin. Next
Sounds
up,
good.
we have Deidre. Deidre, tell us, who are you?
Hi, thanks, Austin. So I am small town country girl, helping her older parents, mental health therapist and health and wellness coach, plus an Amazon bestselling author for my book From Burnout to Balance. So a lot of
Ooh,
things
that's
going
a
on.
great title.
Thanks.
All right. Well, you said small town country girl. Where do you live?
I live in a very small mountain town in Idaho.
Oh, fascinating. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, I've got a very important question for you. If I wanted to improve my social health with boundaries, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
The big one that comes to mind is really about shifting our own mindset around boundaries, right? Boundaries teach others how to treat us. But we often think other people have crossed our boundaries, but did that person do it or did I allow it? Right. So we have to look at boundaries a
Ooh,
little
okay.
bit differently. We let them cross it. We don't hold that boundary, which teaches them it's okay to push.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that is a good point. You know, how people treat you is a reflection of how you let them treat you, and putting out boundaries makes it
Yes.
clear. Okay. Man, that makes it a lot easier to
Yeah.
say no, like Lady J was saying. This episode going to be very mind opening. All right. Let me ask you this. Where in your life journey did you learn this advice?
Well, this really hit home after my third episode of burnout as a mental health therapist, as I was going through my
Third
healing
episode?
journey. Third episode of burnout, which was the worst one. But as I was working on my own journey, it was a true reflection of why did I get to this point, right? Because I was one of those that pushed back on the people I worked with, the people I socialized with. But the reality is, when I got down to it, I did it to myself because I kept saying yes, right? Every time somebody needed something in the middle of the night, I'd say yes and then still do my day job. And so that reflection really came back to I can't be my best and help others if I don't tell them what is and isn't okay. So it was through my own journey that that one really kind of solidified in my own life.
So I have a question. I want you to remember it because I'm going to forget it. But we'll ask it
Okay.
in the round robin. How do we know if someone's violating your boundaries or being a good friend? And
Mm.
we'll talk about that in just a bit. We're going to move on to our next guest, and we'll let you bring that back out in the round robin. Next up, we have Krista. Krista, tell me,
Hey,
who are
Austin.
you?
Hey, Austin, thanks for having me on your show. I am the relationship chef. I combine my training at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris with relationship mentoring to help couples connect and build that relationship that they want to take them through to the future. I believe that love is the ultimate recipe for a great life. And I live this every day with my partner and my three amazing kids who are grown and pretty much out of the house. But, at the end of the day, I believe relationships are like recipes. They don't just happen, and you have to be intentional and add the right ingredients to keep the heat.
Yeah. Oh, well, that sounds like two things that go well together. Krista, let me ask you this. If I wanted to improve my social health with boundaries, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Well, I'm going to tie it into relationships, right? Because that's what I do. And I think boundaries are super important in relationships. But the thing that I want to say is that in a relationship, having boundaries doesn't always mean saying no in those exact words. Having boundaries sometimes just means asking for somebody to help to share that mental load so that you don't feel like you're doing it all and your boundaries are blown away and you build resentment. So sometimes boundaries are just asking for help and sort of sharing some responsibilities.
Okay. All right. Boundaries are asking for help and sharing some responsibilities. Fantastic. Where on your life journey did you learn this piece of advice?
Well, unfortunately, I was previously married and divorced. So hence my new partner is the guy who fills my life, and he's my forever guy. But in my previous relationship, I learned that conflict avoidance just means broken boundaries. So I didn't say anything and I did everything, and I really felt resentment. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel loved. And it wasn't until this relationship when I have learned to ask for a little bit of help to carry the load that I'm able to step back and say, I need this time for myself. I need to take a breather. I'm going to let you take care of things. And it's made a huge difference in my world and my relationship and everything, the way I parent, the way I run my business.
Tell me more about this. Okay, so you say you're having your boundaries as a way that someone else can take the load. Tell me how that works.
Well, healthy boundaries equal connection, not division, right? So if you say,
Okay.
okay, I can't do everything in this relationship, in this household, I'm going to need you to help me. You're setting that boundary of saying that I'm not the pack mule. I am an equal partner and we're going to share this. And when you make that known and you hold that as your firm ground, then your partner gets the opportunity to step up and say, great, we're in this together. I want to help. I want to see you happy. I want me to be happy. And it allows couples to thrive when everybody can be an individual part of a bigger team.
All right, this makes sense. Awesome, Krista. You ready to bring everyone else out and let's have a nice chat?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, we'll bring Deidre, and Lady J out. All right, let's, audience, this is a great time for you to ask questions as well if you have any. All right, let's try to start this easy. Lady J, quickly refresh what your tip was for us.
Mine was basically being able to say no without guilt. There are some times we are going to have to say no. And I also like what Krista was saying in regards to relationships, because I have a Vietnam vet that's my spouse. And so doing a lot for him. I'm a caregiver for my 91-year-old mom. We had to have a family meeting. And I had to say, you know what? Y'all got me doing way too much. I can't handle it. I'm going crazy. And after my father had died after 5 months of moving down here to Georgia, I mean, I collapsed just going into the hospital. So just like Deidre was talking about her third burnout, that was my first and last burnout because it was really too much. So I was able to get a therapist. She helped me to create boundaries, whereas I don't have a problem saying no. But I do come back, Krista, with a resolution, how we can work this out together.
Okay. All right, I want to delve a little more into that. So I think that that's a common, let's just say that's a common like issue that people are having. So you have somebody that is sick, right? They could be sick. I mean, I think Deidre had the same issue. So maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a husband, whatever, and they can't do as much as you, or at least it's more difficult for them to do it than to you do it, quicker and faster. So ideally, in a perfectly efficient time, they'll ask you to do just about everything. How can you know when you are going beyond your boundary, when you need to set your boundary? And this might be different for everyone, but how did you figure that out, Lady J? And have the build that wall and say, this is where I stop. And how did that conversation go? And did it upset them?
My therapist said, I want you to write down everything you do. That was the first thing. I had 2 pages worth. And in between that, I said, I still didn't write everything down. She was like, you are doing way too much. And us women, we're wearing all these different hats. We find out as we're getting older, we're kind of slowing down from that. We can't wear all the hats that we used to wear.
It's exhausting.
So I just started saying, hey, if you can't do everything on one day, Lady J, put it off to another day. So you have a calendar. You put everything you want to do for the year. Then you break it down for every month. Then you break it down for quarter. When you start breaking all this down, all of a sudden, the weight started dropping out of my shoulder. Then I started putting me a little bit first. My relationship with God, my me time. I'll say in a minute, guys, I'm out of here for the next couple of hours. I hope y'all gonna be okay. I'm ready to go do some me time. And they begin to appreciate that because I come back as a new Lady J instead of one that's all upset and irritable and can't stand to be around you right now. And that's when you have all the negative things come in. Boundaries means being able to kind of put you first, but to be able to take care of others.
All right, this is a question for everyone. It's related to what Lady J was saying, so anyone can answer this. So now, how do we determine, let's say that someone is bedridden or whatever and they need all this help, and let's say that they either don't have health insurance, they can't have outside help, it's too expensive, whatever the issue is. How do you determine where your boundary is? And what if they start resenting you? They're like, I'm your mother, I gave birth to you and I can't move, you have to do everything. how does that conversation go, and where do you think is too much and not enough? I mean, Lady J, that's awesome. I love writing it all out and just like, I guess, shoving it in their face, saying, "Look at all this I do." But at some point, what if it comes to they can't physically do it, so and you can't do it because you're going to burn out. So who does it?
Well, see, I'm not really giving that to them. It's something that the therapist is giving me as an exercise, right? It's to help me unclog my mindset so that I'm able to do so. My mother will always say, "Well, I'm grown. I'm 91 years old." I said, "Okay, baby, if you're 91 years old, when you get finished eating, you can clear off the table." She laughs because I used to do that to her when she was a kid. So you get a chance to learn each person of what they can do, but still encourage them to do what they can do. And it still lightens the load, you see?
Mm-hmm. And I think a little bit of prioritizing too, right? To look and see there's certain things that you don't have to get done today, and not to put pressure on yourself to be perfect and get everything done. You allow yourself that ease to let a few things slide when you're approaching that breaking point.
I think that's the key. I found out I was putting more pressure on myself. That's the key, what you just said there.
Yeah. And I would even add to that, when I think about helping other people, sometimes it comes back to whose expectations am I trying to meet, right? So if I'm trying to help them, if it's not an emergency, their timeline isn't the one I necessarily need to function on, right? It's my own.
Absolutely.
My own timeline. If it's an emergency or medical situation, right, then sure, that's different. But things like the dishes, I'm going to do that in my timeline so then I can balance all of that.
Give yourself permission to put it aside for a bit.
Yes.
But it takes time for us to get to that point. That's why I went back to when we were kids and what we saw our parents or our relatives and everything do, and we just went on ahead and fell into it. When we got burnt out, like Deidre said, now all of a sudden we've got to pull back and look at this situation instead of saying, "Hey, I'm not fixing dinner every night. We're going to have sandwiches tonight, and everyone is going to make their own sandwich." And we've got everything to put out. So you also learn to be creative. We learn to come up with our own beliefs, our own boundaries that not only serve ourselves, but the people that we love and care for, because it's all about being a happy person, right? Bringing the best. Go ahead.
I think you said it well, Lady J, is that we have brought on a lot of the things that we saw our parents doing when we were young, but we haven't taken into account the 50 million other things that are part of our society now. Because my parents had 2 kids, and my mother was simply not willing to have us enrolled in a bunch of different sports or activities. But my kids played basketball and lacrosse, and they paddled and they played hockey. And it's like we're all over the map. So if I want to do everything my mom did, that's great. But I also have to add sports and laundry and all of the things that come with the extra activities. And I think that's a lot of the times that's where we run into trouble, is we want to do things. We want to take on all the responsibility like our parents did, but we forget that we've got a lot more going on than our parents did.
All right, we're going to shift here. And so I think Lady J and Deidre both said that they have had burnout. Let's talk about how social health boundaries can help prevent burnout and maybe some signs of burnout that people currently have, that maybe boundaries could stop them from that. Deidre, you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I'll start. So really when we talk about boundaries and burnout, I think it connects to what Krista said a few minutes ago, right? And that's about priorities. It's one of the things I work with my clients on a lot, and that's prioritizing what's most important and only focusing on those things and letting everything else go. right? And if we talk about how do we know we're starting to get burnt out, well, it's what's shifted, not just in your day, but within yourself, right? So most of us hold tension in our shoulders. So if that's getting worse, something's going on,
Mm.
right? If you're not sleeping, if things
Mm.
that are in your normal routine, right? So for me, I get up in the morning, I go for a walk, and I have my morning devotional time. But when I was in a state of burnout, those were the first two things I got rid of because I wanted to sleep more. So it's looking at knowing what's shifting in your mind and your body, but also within your routine. And then I always, one of the priorities, right? Come back to priorities, what's important, and let everything else go, because there's too much in the world for us to try to focus on. Way too much.
I like that. I think a lot of things too, even dealing with being a caregiver, is anxiety.
Yes.
That can also
Huge.
bring in depression.
Mhm.
I found myself being so overloaded. I would go to my room and close the door in the dark just to have some kind of peace. Another thing, not being able to sleep because you have so much on your mind. Helping out my dad during his time, I could not sleep because I had the phone down low in case he ever called me. And now with my 90-year-old mom, it's the same thing. Almost kind of listen it out in case she needs me, that I will be there. So you have different things that bring on different things. And the thing is, you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
You don't notice it until you're cracking.
Yep.
That's when you notice, oh my God, I burn out. I'm not noticing until I'm going to the hospital. And as I'm checking in, I collapse right there
Yep.
on the floor. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And so these are the things to prevent it. You want to start getting you some boundaries right now. I say go ahead and write down everything you're doing. Do you have to do this for so and so? Can you bring in another family member that can help you do this or that? Maybe it's reassigning. Everybody says, "Ooh, girl, you know how to delegate." Yeah, because I'm not getting burned out again. You know, it's like getting burned by a fire. You get so close, you don't want to go there anymore.
Well said. All right, we're gonna switch again to another topic. We have about 2 minutes left. We'll go a little over, I'm sure. Let's let Krista show off some of her expertise. What about social health boundaries in romantic relationships?
Ooh.
This one's a really important one for me, anyways, because if you don't have those boundaries in your romantic relationship, then that starts to build resentment. So, you want to work with your partner to share the load, the mental load. And one way you can really accomplish this is by putting that into words and saying, I've got a lot of the mental load. And a lot of times when one partner is carrying the mental load, the other partner not so much, the other partner doesn't even notice it. And so that quiet resentment builds up. And just like Lady J was saying, nip it in the bud before it happens. And the average couple waits 5 or 6 years before they see a problem in their relationship. But I think that the key to a long lasting relationship is to set these boundaries right from the beginning and to share that load so that there is no resentment, so that you're saying, hey, you know what, I've got a lot to do. Maybe you could help me. Or even it's something as simple as saying, you know what, I had a really busy day. Like Lady J was saying, I had a really busy day. I'm not making dinner tonight, And for me, of course, tying the cooking into it, as an example, last night, I thawed chili instead of spaghetti sauce. And so I don't know what I'm going to do with dinner. And I said, well, just whatever, you have dinner and I'll pick at something. And then I ended up making biscuits. And for me, the cooking was cathartic. And then I'm like, okay, I'm refreshed and renewed now. What are we going to do together? But I think it's really being able to tell your partner, I don't want to carry all of the load and I don't want to delegate a chore to you because that's still me carrying the load. I want you to help me carry the mental load as well as the physical activities.
So good. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I want to add to that because I think trying to share that, I love that, sharing both the load and the mental load, is being able to recognize when somebody's supporting a boundary and pushing against it in a negative way, right? And really we have to look at like what's their intention behind that.
Normalize cheering for someone supporting your boundary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
100%.
There's so often we're like, hey, that's my boundary, don't do that. But that's a great point. I feel like there's not many people that are like, hey, that's my boundary, you respected it, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
for supporting that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I like that. Continue.
Yeah. And so it really does, trying to look at their intention, right? So if somebody respects the boundary, great, appreciate that. And people who respect the boundary, and they might push it in a healthy way, right? So if they see, say, Lady J is over stressed, they say, hey, something's going on here, right? They're going to point it out and help you identify it. I think that's an appropriate push on the boundaries of, are you taking on too much? But people who do it in a negative way, right, are going to be the ones, no matter how many times you say, hey, figure out your own dinner tonight. What do? They keep nagging you. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? Well, they've just disrespected that boundary or that request of help me. I can't handle this one tonight. And so I think it's important to be able to look at the intention of both and recognize it.
And then I'm going to add. You respect your own boundaries too. And if somebody does step up and help, then you show gratitude, which you mentioned. But the other thing is too, is you accept that help in whatever form it is, right?
Yes.
You don't say,
Yes.
you didn't do that right. You say, oh, that's great. They did it for me. I don't care how they did it. They took that off my plate and I didn't have to think about it. So it's accepting the way they do it and allowing yourself to understand that people do things differently. So you're grateful for their help or their support, and you'll take it, however they choose to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's very good. You both did good points. I think my biggest thing was being able to help my mother transition of losing her husband after 65 years without babying her. You see what I'm saying? We want extra love. We want all that. But I said, baby, it's been about a year now. I'm going to need you to kind of fly. I'm going to need you to kind of be on your own. I need you to do as much as you can yourself and encouraging her. When I would go away, she didn't want me to go away. I said, ooh, do you want me to stay here and be grumpy and snapping at you? Or will you allow me to go away for about 2 or 3 days so I can come back happy and refreshed? She says, you know what? I want you to come back happy and refreshed. I like that Lady J when she comes back refreshed. So I asked the Lord to just give me the words to say. Even my husband, I said, you want this, you want that. At first, it's going to be negative, right? You're just going to just say it any kind of way because you're frustrated. You want help, but you don't know how to ask for the help. So then I came back and said, honey, I sure do appreciate when you help me out with Mom. Men love praises too. Whoever you're helping loves the praise. I was just away. I had death in the family, and I just came back last night. And I told him on the phone, I appreciate you so much, baby. The way you take care of Mom. And if he does something wrong, I just say, hey, you did a great job. But can you incorporate this in the next time you take care of her? He's a quick learner. He's going to go ahead and he's going to do that. So now we share taking care of Mother instead of me feeling like I'm doing it myself.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. This has been amazing, but we got to wrap it up. So we got one last task to do before we go, and that is come up with our daily challenge. We have to come up with a task and or series of tasks that takes less than 5 minutes a day, costs $0, is available to anyone in the world and helps us improve our social health regarding boundaries. What thoughts do you
I'm going to read mine because I don't want to forget it. Instead, practice saying no with kindness, but firmness
Ooh,
when something doesn't align with your values, energy, or priorities. That was deep. I didn't even want to mess that up. Like, in other words, when we're getting all these invites, who said you had to go to each one of them? And you know what your schedule is like. I really appreciate the invite, but I can't fit at this time. That doesn't work for me right now. But thank you for your understanding. Bam.
Amazing. Okay.
fascinating. All right, I like that. Say no. I have in there. Say no to some. At least once every day to something you would usually say yes to.
Yes.
And maybe another thing would be pick a relationship that there's potential conflict in and tell them your boundary.
That's a
Yes.
good one.
And that's when it comes up, right? We don't have to make an announcement. I'm going to set a boundary here because I don't like this or that. No. As you're talking, you just slide it on in.
I love it. All right, well, that sounds like a solid daily challenge. We're saying no and setting boundaries. We'll see how it works out. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up the show and put you all backstage. Huge shout out to our guests. What a great day. We went over multiple different areas of social health. We did have an audience question from the audience that asked me why I keep puckering up when I drink my coffee. So I joined the trend of putting lemon juice in there, and apparently that's not a thing, I guess. So I might be just made it up. Someone said they saw it. It's going somewhere. So that's all that was. It wasn't me reacting to any of our guests. And the other comment about my hat. So this is an awesome hat. You can buy yours. It helps support the fight against breast cancer. A good friend of mine and also has been on the show, Jessica. If you need her contact info to buy one of these hats and help support the fight against breast cancer, let me know. That being said, I hope you learned a lot about social health and boundaries. We went over relationships, we went over family, and we went over burnout for yourself. Wow, got an awesome daily challenge. We're saying no to someone that we normally would say yes to, and we have to pick a relationship that maybe it's not rocky, maybe it is rocky, maybe it has the potential, maybe you have a gut feeling where you're like, I don't want to text John today because I don't really feel good about what he did. Well, challenge is to text him and explain your boundary and let him know how that made you feel.